Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, thank you for joining me. Today is part of a series called Way Out Wednesdays. And I am Susan Lynn. I'm a psychic and a medium. And during this series, I cover all kinds of topics. Some of them are way out there, perhaps like today. Now, again, this might be too far way out there for some and not far enough for others, but I'll just say that if you keep watching this series, you're going to learn a lot. You're going to be exposed to a lot over the course of these videos. Now, you can check out my playlist, and it has videos that I've done on Way Out Wednesdays that cover everything from ghost to multiple versions of us all living on planet Earth at the same time, soul contracts, star seeds, all kinds of really interesting topics. So I encourage you to click on the logo, go to my main YouTube page, and from there you'll see across the top a series of tabs. One will be playlist. Then look for Wow, W-O-W, Way Out Wednesday. You'll find all the videos located there. So let's get started. Today, we're going to talk about Sasquatch. We're going to talk about Bigfoot, Yeti, Sasquatch. Now, this energy, I don't know anything about Sasquatch. Everything I'm going to tell you today is going to be channeled. I am a channel. Typically, I'm about 60% Susan, 40%, oh, not 60% Susan, really? No, 60% spirit guides and 40% Susan. So 60% of what I'm telling you is coming from my spirit guides, 40% is Susan, just trying to make sense of it, form it into words, into sentences, and to communicate it to you. So let's get started. Sasquatch is the name that I am being drawn to use. They prefer the names that have been given to them by the indigenous people that they have lived with or encountered. They do not like the name Bigfoot. They say it doesn't have a soul. The name doesn't have any meaning, whereas Sasquatch and Yeti have, there's a real connection, apparently, to these people, to the indigenous people, beings, which are really interdimensional is the word that they want to use. These energies are connected and have been connected to the native peoples that they have lived with. So whatever native peoples that would be living in that area would be native peoples that they would have lived very symbiotically with, would have lived together. Now, of course, I'm not suggesting that these native people saw Sasquatch all the time. I'm not suggesting that they, sat by the fire with them. I'm suggesting that they were seen on rare occasions and they were known. This is how they got their name, Sasquatch and Yeti. They were known. They were witnessed on occasion. Now, these entities are telling me that they like riparian forest, which I think is forest near water or forest near a water source. They also like conifer forest. There's something that they like about the seeds or the pine cones or something about conifer forest. They prefer that. Now, they don't live in the desert. They don't live in areas that are they also want to say boreal, B-O-R-E-A-L. I think that, I don't know. Anyway, boreal forest. What else do they want to say? Well, okay, they're peaceful. They want to say that they're very peaceful. They have never, it is not in their ideology or their culture or their mindset to be violent. They're never violent. They say that you're never going to have any true story of them being violent. In many cases, actually, they're helpful. They have helped humans. They have helped babies. They have helped children. They do feel a bit of a kinship with humans for some reason. they are here. Well, they said this is our home. When I asked them, they said this is our home. Earth is their home. They were here first. They were here before a lot of humans were, especially here in the United States and in North America, let's just say. I'm going to ask them a question. They're telling me they were not here. What I'm understanding them to say is they were not here during the dinosaur age, but they came soon after that. They're talking about fire. They're talking about when fire was discovered. That's kind of the age when they came in. That right after that or around that, I don't know why they were assigned here. They're telling me they were assigned to Earth, but it is their home. They are guarding something. Now, when I say guarding, I don't mean that they're being violent or anything like that, but they are watchful and they are always aware of human activity. Now, when I say metaphysical, what did I call them? Interdimensional beings, they can slip in and out of our awareness or our time line. So when you see one and then it disappears, it's simply just going in and out of the timeline of our timeline, our dimension. There's kind of no other way for me to describe it, but they are friendly. They are helpful. They are very connected to the earth, to the plants, to nature, as they first started talking about riparian forest, boreal forest, conifer forest, waterways. They're very connected to earth. They, even though they are interdimensional, they say they sort of have, they're mammals. They say we have babies, we procreate. We're not an interdimensional entity that is just a soul and doesn't procreate anymore. So you might liken that to when we cross over, we are simply expressing our soul. That's our energy. That's our entire being, is just our soul's energy. So obviously they're taking on a physical appearance, and they have mates and they have babies, children. They live quite a long time. What was that? I didn't understand that. I don't understand what they're saying. But it was something about 30 years. It could be that they have to be 30 years before they can have children. There's something about children in 30 years, in Earth years, right? Human years. Human years, very different than time in other dimensions. Time in other dimensions kind of even doesn't exist in some ways, right? So if they were trying to help me understand, they would say, there's something about 30 years. I think they have to be 30 Earth years before they can have children. So they don't procreate a lot, is the other thing. They don't have large families. They have very small. They have one child, is what they're calling it. And that child is going to be perhaps their only child until that child is an adult. So they're not likely to have a family of 3, 4, 5. It can happen that they can have 2 babies, but it's not common. There's something about not being able to support families that big, not being able to support. Now, what's interesting is, in some bizarre way, they live off of the earth. They're vegetarian. They eat. I don't understand how this happens. I don't understand how they can be physical with a physical body and physical characteristics, and then poof, go into another dimension. I don't get, that's over my pay grade. But they do eat these pine, something about pine cones, conifer, vegetarian. They're vegetarian. They don't kill anything. They're not violent in any way, shape, or form. They are, what are you guarding? They want to say they're guarding the earth, but there's something valuable here. And again, guarding is really a human term. I can't understand a term that would make sense for them. They want to say watchful. They wouldn't say guarding. They would say watching. Okay, so guarding implies that you're going to do something to protect something. And what they would say, we watch, we're watching. I would ask them some questions. I would ask them, they don't want to be involved with humankind. We are pretty violent. We're known to be unpredictable. They said we're unpredictable. They've tried to make friends with us, and we're unpredictable. They can make friends with one person, and then the next person could surprise them and hurt them. So they decided that it was better to have as little contact as possible with humankind. I'm asking them if they have contact with other entities. For instance, ETs, aliens, extraterrestrials. And they're saying, because I'm thinking they're multidimensional, then they have something kind of in common with aliens, except for they're like, we have nothing in common with aliens. Again, they have a digestive system. They manifest as real, as like hair. Like you could find their hair somewhere, or you could find you could find something there that would prove physical evidence. So they say we don't really have anything in common with them other than we can shapeshift or vanish into the thin air, which obviously ETs and aliens can also do. They say our home is planet Earth. Their home is not planet Earth. These ETs and aliens, they visit planet Earth. They say there are, and I do know this for a fact, as far as I'm concerned, that there are ETs that live here on the planet, but it's not their home. They live here because they're working here. They're doing things here, but it's not their home. Sasquatch feels like this is their home. They feel they feel that their species will live and die here. So if they were ever to be extinct, they would become extinct here on the planet. They wouldn't leave to another planet. I don't know why that is. They're so connected to Mother Earth. I'm asking them about climate change. They say, of course, which I guess is why I don't know why. Maybe they asked me. I don't know. I went from saying that they would, if they ever went extinct, that they would die here on Earth. And then I, for some reason, went to climate change. So that probably was them talking to me about climate change, because that makes sense, right? They see the changes on the Earth. They feel like the Earth has many more years, like maybe 1 billion years, like a long time. The Earth is going to be alive a long time. The question is, will humans be here? Will Sasquatch be here? Will we be able to be here on the Earth? Will it support us? Okay. They're talking about coal mining or they're talking about pollution in the waterways from fracking and coal mining and other types of industrial applications. They're talking about us poisoning the waterways. Again, these beings like to live around water, riparian forests that have water. So this is something that they feel could be very threatening to them. They're showing me heavy metals in the water. They're showing me lead and heavy metals in the water. And that is very bad. They do drink the water. So because of these environmental changes, their families have gotten smaller. They cannot support the bigger clans or groups of them the way they used to. Their numbers are dwindling because there's just not enough food or water or whatever they need to be able to live. So they're having fewer babies, they're smaller groups. They don't live in big groups anyway. They live in very small groups. Like oftentimes the mother and the baby are separate, that they live by themselves, and the males can be living singly, not in groups. I don't know. The males don't live with the families. Once the baby gets to be a certain age, they're giving me the impression of like our version of a teenager. Then that individual would then go on and kind of go on their own. They're talking about maybe because I know a little bit about bears, but they're talking about bears, how, bears keep their cubs for like, I think 1 or 2 years, and then that cub has to go. And when that cub goes, then that female bear can become impregnated again. Okay. So it's kind of like that, like, they keep their young with them. And then when that youngster gets to a certain age and moves on, then that can have more babies. I really am fascinated personally on how they can appear and disappear. Like, that's the part that I want to know about, like, because they're physical. Like, I deal with energies all the time. I deal with ghosts. I deal with entities. I deal with crossed over loved ones. I mean, I'm used to dealing with a lot of energies and entities that are souls or energy, but they don't become physical and then go back. That part is very unusual. The only time that would happen is with the help of a human. And that would happen in the case of, which my last video was about, would be physical mediumship. When the medium allows the entity to come into the medium's body, or to use the ectoplasm, the energy from the medium's body, to then become physical for a very short period of time. But there's proof apparently that these entities do become physical, but it's because of the human. The human has to be there. In this case, with Sasquatch, there's no human that has to be there. They can literally traverse these dimensions, fully physical. They're saying to me, it's like walking through a curtain, a veil. Yeah, the veil. They walk through the veil. You just walk through it. And on the other side, they look the same. There are some changes that take place when they cross. So if you saw a Yeti or a Sasquatch and it disappeared, where it goes through that veil, there's some changes. There's some physical changes. They do morph a little bit. They're not exactly the same. They really don't have the physical body over there that they do here. And what I said, was they were showing me that there are portals, right? And I should do a video on portals. Portals are everywhere, guys. Portals can be in your house. They can be in your land. They can be anywhere. They're pre-existing portals, and also you can open up portals by intention or by accident. So when you see a Yeti, and you might see them run off or hide because they're not near the portal. They really need the portal to get to the other side. So that's what I was getting hung up on, is how do they just disappear into thin air, right? So because they're physical, they do leave footprints. They have left hair. They have left scat, which is poop. They do make noises. It's like I don't know what kind of noise it is. It's like a cry, moan kind of noise. It's not like an ape. It's not like a bird. It's not like anything, but it's like if you could mix an ape with a human that couldn't talk. Yeah, that's what it would sound like. What else do we want to know about Sasquatch? Well, they want to be left alone. They want to be left alone. They don't like people looking for them. They don't want to be found. I'm not going to tell you where you can find them. I'm not going to tell you where they live. I'm not going to do that. They don't want to be found. They are peaceful, peace loving. If someone's in trouble, they try to help you. They don't have predators in the sense that like a mountain lion or a bear, those types of things don't bother them because they can sense that their energy is sort of not of this world. So they kind of are freaked out about it, especially the cats, especially the pumas, the mountain lions, the cougars. They can smell, they're like, no, I don't want that. It scares them. Now the bears are kind of like, according to the Yetis, the bears are bumbling and fumbling, like they're maybe also because they're sort of an apex predator. They don't care. They just wander through the forest. You know what I mean? They're not worried about somebody attacking them. So they just kind of bumble and fumble through the forest. They do run into each other. There's brambles, maybe, berry brambles that sometimes the bears, and also in some of the waterways that have fish, they do run across each other. But bears don't pay them any attention. The only time a bear gets freaked out by one of these is if it's really close, like if they accidentally bumped into each other or got face to face, somehow by accident. That would freak a bear out. That would freak a bear out really bad. A bear would run. Horses also don't like Sasquatch Yetis. They're very freaked out by them. They don't, there's no way to make peace with them. They've tried to make peace with horses, and horses are very freaked out by them. So that doesn't work. Deer kind of come and go. I mean, everything else in the forest is kind of cool with them. Like I'm looking at raccoons, I'm looking at rabbits, birds. Birds sometimes get quiet when Yeti is around. Yeah, they get quiet. If you hear a lot of singing or squawking and then a Yeti appears, they get quiet. But for some reason, rabbits and squirrels and things like that don't really mind them too much. What else do I need to know? I'm asking them, can they see a time when humans and Yetis would be more on a friendly basis? And they don't see that happening. They said they've learned their lesson. They've befriended humans before and it didn't end well for them. Now, when they say humans, they're not talking so much. There were some native peoples that tried to hunt them, so that wasn't good. But for the most part, native peoples revered them as a big medicine. They have had more trouble with coal miners. Again, back to the miners and coal mining. Golly, I wanted to say gold miners is what I wanted to say. Remember the rush across the West for the mining of the gold and the minerals. They've had a lot of problems with those people when they first started showing up, because those people had guns and they would just shoot, and the gun was much further and more accurate than the bow and arrow. So they had a lot of problems with humans, with those types of humans. Why do you keep bringing up coal mines? Do I need to know anything about coal mines killing us? They're saying it's killing us. It's is it coal, or because coal is not in an area where I would assume Yetis. I guess Yetis can be in that area. I mean, they could be in any riparian forest, or conifer forest, boreal. I don't know why they keep bringing that up, but it's something. Maybe they just want us to know that it's poisoning the waterways. Maybe that's the problem. But I'm seeing mines. I'm seeing like the wooden frame that they build on the outside of a mine to support it into a mountain. So that could also be any number of minerals. It doesn't have to be coal. It could be any minerals at all that are mined throughout all of the West, all of that. And then the timber industry, well, they're not too happy about the timber industry. I think they like old growth forest, particularly. Yes, they like old growth forest. Old growth forest have something of nutritional value to them that's more nutritional than these replanting of the younger and the other species that are not old growth. I had an experience once with something that I couldn't see. Now, this was in Vermont in an old growth forest. I'm wondering about that because they've been bringing this up lately. I was in a forest and it was pretty dense forest. And I heard something make that noise, that it's what at the time people told me was a moose. And there were moose there, but I'm telling you, I couldn't see no moose. I mean, it wasn't that dense. I could see all around me and there was no moose. It's hard to hide a moose. I have a lot of experience with moose and it's hard to hide a moose. But I was hearing this groaning call, moaning call, and I couldn't find the source of it. It was loud. And I did hear some crashing, and I was near a swampy area. So everybody told me it was a moose, but now I'm starting to wonder if it was a Yeti because I never to this day saw that moose. I never saw any tracks. I'm telling you, you can't hide a moose. So I'm starting to wonder now if that's what they're trying to tell me, is that I actually actually experienced a Yeti in Vermont. I don't know. I don't know where Yetis or where Sasquatch live. Apparently they live all across the United States and Canada, where there's riparian forest, conifer forest, boreal. They can live there. So they can be in Minnesota. They can be in Vermont. They can be in Canada. They can be in Washington State. They can be in Idaho, Montana, any place that has that ecosystem. That's where they can be. Is there anything else? They just want to say that they come in peace. They're reiterating, we're not to be afraid of. Don't be afraid of us. If you see us, please be kind and gentle to us. We have no ulterior motives. Zero. They just found a home here. And it was a beautiful home, and they hope to continue living here. They hope to continue being a part of that land, of our land. They have been known to leave things for people if they feel like you're a person that would understand. They have been known to leave like a shell or a rock or something that you might find even at your house or at your vehicle, or if you come to a certain stream or a certain water often, if you just often visit one particular space that's not a dock, it's very nature oriented, they will leave you something there to acknowledge your presence, to acknowledge that you love what they love, sort of from one kindred soul to another. They might leave you a particularly odd shell or a particularly odd rock or something there. And yes, if you find something like that, it's from them. You can trust that that is something that they do. They do want to have a relationship with humans, but they know they can't. We're too warlike. We're unpredictable. We're unpredictable. Anything else they want to say? They want to live side by side with us in peace. They just want to say that they're happy to have had this opportunity to communicate with mankind. They welcome communicating with mankind as long as it's done with an open heart and as long as nobody tells people where they live so that they can be trapped. There seems to be a potential that they could possibly be captured, which would be very bad. It would be sad. So they don't travel far from their portals. And that's all they would say. They would just say that they're peaceful. So that wraps up another Way Out Wednesday. Thank you so much for tuning in today to learn about Sasquatch and Yetis. If you guys have questions that you want to ask the Yeti consciousness, pop them down in the comments and I will answer a few of those. I do have a pretty good connection to them and I think that I could answer those for you. If you have questions, please let me know. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. And I hope you'll tune in again for the next Way Out Wednesday. Take really good care.